right, hello. Welcome to the third episode of the Hold My Helmet Football Podcast, and I'm your host, Will Reichling.
And I'm Dylan Boyle.
He's my guest host, and he'll probably be my guest host a lot moving forward. So everyone, welcome, Dylan.
Yeah, I'm excited to do this, man.
I'm excited too, man.
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear what you got. So
yeah, we got some exciting topics to get into today. So
so let's get into it. And I'd like to start with DeAndre Hopkins getting released by the Arizona Cardinals, and it's starting to get a little weird because no one's picked him up yet.
Absolutely, I thought he was going to be taken right away. Honestly,
Me too.
It's been 2 weeks now, and he's still a free agent, and honestly, it's coming to the point. Do we think it's the amount of money he's asking for?
Yeah, in a way, it kind of is, because at this point, if he wanted, if he was only looking for like 5, even 10 million, I feel like he would have teams lining up out the door.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, it's definitely coming down to money. That's also why Arizona couldn't trade him, because they didn't want to take on the contract.
I think the stigma that went down is after Odell got signed for 15 mil, I think that kind of set the stage for him to come out like, okay, so this guy that missed 2 years of football is getting 15 mil. What should I get?
Yeah,
and
no.
Now he's
right. No, you're absolutely right. And it just like I said, they no team wanted to trade for him because they didn't want to take on this contract, which was like I think you told me
it was 19.
Yeah, you told me off air 19, right? And so clearly they don't want to pay him that. So he should understand that's off the table. But so I'm very curious what he's going to get. But other than that, I like to get into where he's going to go.
Yeah, good point, man. There's a lot of teams that are very interesting and might make a good fit, and
right.
Some could afford him, some can't,
and some are sleepers that you're not really thinking about. But when you do think about it, you go, that's actually an excellent fit.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to start with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I think this is a team that would really fit very well,
I agree.
I feel like if they had him on his team, I feel like they could easily just win another Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It would just be such an overpowered team at that point after winning the Super Bowl. They did just lose 2 key receivers, Smith-Schuster and McCole Hardman.
Yeah.
So that might take a toll on them. That might slow them down a little bit.
Yeah,
then again, it is Patrick Mahomes, so I don't know if anything could slow him down.
See, I have an opposite take on that. It's kind of like, they won a Super Bowl with just Juju Smith-Schuster as the number 1 receiver, so they could clearly do it with anything at wide receiver, to be honest.
That's a good point.
Not a knock on Juju Smith-Schuster. He's a good receiver, but he's not a number 1 receiver, okay? So DeAndre Hopkins obviously would be a perfect fit, in my opinion, but, I don't think the Chiefs want to pay him what he wants, and, they're smart with the cap space. They gave away Tyreek Hill for a reason. Tyreek Hill came out and said, they were going to give him the bag, but not the type of bag Miami was going to give him.
No, absolutely.
So were they going to pay him relatively a lot? Yeah, but not make him the highest paid receiver in the league.
I think it goes hand in hand. It's like if you're gonna win Super Bowls, you gotta expect you might take a pay cut because you gotta.
Right, Tom Brady did that for years. Great point. So
exactly, so.
Yeah, so
things are working out for the Chiefs, so I don't think they really need him in the long run.
I don't think they do either, but obviously it would be a great fit. So I think we're in agreement on that.
Okay.
I'd also like to get into really quick because we have to, because they're definitely one of the highest. One of the favorites for the betting odds to get him.
Yeah,
so the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. I was thinking that too.
Yeah.
They were at the number 2 favorite. Now that they're number 1 in Vegas. So. Why is that? Why are they the number 1 in Vegas?
Because I do think it would be an excellent fit also, because I do think him and Stephon Diggs will complement each other really well.
Yeah, it's crazy because when you think of the Bills, Stephon Diggs, but what is their number 2? I can't really think of it off my head. Is it?
I guess it's Gabe Davis. Well, it is Gabe Davis.
It is, yeah.
He's a good He's a good receiver,
absolutely.
But I do think he's inconsistent. That big game he had. What was the number again?
I think his name's been thrown around a lot is because last season, I think it was the middle of the season, he had one game where he had 3 receptions for 171 yards.
Right, yes.
And off rip, that sounds crazy, right?
Yeah, but then he has games where he has 3 receptions for 31 yards, so this is my point. He's inconsistent.
He averages for 3
Yeah,
3 receptions.
Yeah, so that's for your number 2 receiver, it's all right.
So yeah, they need a number 2, but I don't know if
he has great games sometimes. He can he can stand out in some games, but it's just the consistency with him. So I do think it would be a great fit because Stephon Diggs and DeAndre Hopkins, I think of them as a very similar type of player. But I do think that Stephon Diggs has the ability to burn the top off of defense and go deep. So
they would be a good duo.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So I do think that would be a great fit. I think Buffalo's absolutely interested in him, and
that might be one that just happens.
Yeah.
I can see it happening.
It might happen. Do we think that's the best fit in our mind? Probably not.
Not realistically, because I think as long as they have a number 2 receiver step up, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, and I do think their offense is going to be fine too this year. So
Stephon Diggs is a really good receiver. Let's not doubt him.
Yeah. So moving on. Like I said earlier, there's teams that you're expecting him to go to and that are in the favorites in your head. But there's also some teams that you're not really thinking about. But when you start to think about it, you go, Dylan.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. There's one team that I've really been thinking about a lot, and that's the Lions. And the only reason why I've been thinking about the Lions a lot is last season they were one game away from being in the playoffs.
Yeah,
but I think they lost 8 games, and out of 8 of those games, 5 of them they only lost by 1 touchdown.
Yeah, that was the stat.
What's one receiver that when you need them to go off, let it go down the field? DeAndre Hopkins. He's done that so many times in Arizona.
Yeah, the Hail Marys.
Hail Marys.
Hail Marys.
Yeah.
Forgot about Hail Marys.
Yeah, so I feel like if the Lions had him last season, they could have easily been in the playoffs. And I like the Lions. They have a good coaching staff. They're a good team, so I feel like DeAndre Hopkins would be a good fit over there.
I do.
And they have the cap space. They have over $23 million cap space, so they have no problem paying him. So
yeah, no, absolutely. I do think that would be a great fit, and that's a team you're not necessarily thinking about. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I do think he's a great receiver, but I feel like if DeAndre Hopkins came there, he could, it would fit together very well. They wouldn't get in each other's way.
And he's still a very young receiver,
yes,
so I think that would really help him out.
Because then all the attention wouldn't be on him anymore.
Exactly.
He
wouldn't have all that pressure of being the number 1 receiver.
Exactly, because you already lost T.J. Hawkinson to the Vikings, so a lot of the attention now was drawn to him. Because he was the guy. So great fit, definitely great fit. To me, there's another team that a lot of people. Well, I guess now it's starting to build up some steam, but Deshaun Watson, his old quarterback in the Cleveland Browns. What about them? You know?
Right.
Amari Cooper and DeAndre Hopkins.
Once you start to think about it, you're like, wow.
David Njoku, Nick Chubb. That offense would be.
That would be an interesting team to watch.
Yes.
I would enjoy watching that. See what they would do.
In my previous episode, I ranked the AFC. I did the AFC standings, my predictions on the season, and I had the Browns at 8 and 9 and tied for last place. I would definitely move them.
It could really go either way.
Well, exactly. Yes, I feel like that.
Type of team.
Yeah, it could go either way. They could either make the playoffs. Deshaun Watson has a great season, or it goes a little rocky. But if they get DeAndre Hopkins, I might have to change that.
Mm-hmm.
But will they get him? I mean, I feel like that's a sleeper team, but that would definitely start sway my opinion a little bit on Cleveland.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
I agree with that.
So going now, it's DeAndre Hopkins. You have to start thinking about it. Why did Arizona even cut ties with him in the first place? Because no one wanted to trade for him because they didn't want to take on the contract. So you could have gotten some use for him because you were paying him the money. So why get rid of him?
That's a good point. The only thing I could think of is maybe you're looking to get rid of everyone and just restart. But it didn't really seem like they were at that point. 2 seasons ago, they were. I think it was week 10. They were leading the NFL. They were leading the league. So I don't know how they go from that to probably the worst in the league now. It blows my mind.
Yeah, and we haven't brought this stat up yet, but we've both had discussions of this off air. DeAndre Hopkins in 9 games last year, 700 yards. So
no, yeah, he only had 9 games due to a suspension, I think.
Well, that's another thing. 2021 he was hurt. In 2022, he was suspended. So this could also be a reason Arizona's done with him. They might just be tired of him,
Yeah, there might have been some conflict going on between him and Kyler Murray for sure.
Yeah, and him in the organization as well.
Yeah, I heard a lot of things going on there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But 700 yards in 9 games, that's number 1 receiver.
No,
numbers.
yeah, he has a nice resume. So that's why it's a little confusing on why nobody's coming to the table.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. But like like you said, there might be some bad blood with him and Kyler Murray.
Yes.
I like Kyler Murray. I think he's talented. Am I crazy about his his attitude and his leadership? Not really, but I think you're a little iffy on Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I'm not the hottest on Kyler Murray. I think Hopkins really complimented Murray. You could say it went either way, but I'll give you the stat that'll put it in place. Murray's passing rating was 10% higher when Hopkins was in. So that just goes to say maybe he's doing something. And how about this? With only additional 5 games, Kyler Murray scored 22 more touchdowns with Hopkins in.
Yeah.
That's a pretty crazy stat.
Yeah.
That's like 4.5 touchdowns.
Well, yeah, no, you're right about that. Stats are stats, but I think it could go both ways. I think DeAndre Hopkins could have enhanced Kyler Murray a lot, but also Kyler Murray's great, and he enhanced DeAndre Hopkins. But
That's
like
what I'm saying, it could go to either way.
Well, let's be honest. DeAndre Hopkins has proven in his career he could put up numbers even with Brock Osweiler quarterback, last year Colt McCoy, so clearly he could do it without anyone. But I think both can go hand in hand. Kyler Murray's good and DeAndre Hopkins are good. You know?
But it's obviously getting to the end of Hopkins' year, so we don't know if he's on the decline or not.
Yeah, and you're starting to wonder, are the Cardinals thinking about tanking and going for Caleb Williams in the draft and getting rid of Kyler Murray? I mean, if you get the number 1 pick, I would take Caleb Williams, yes, but if you don't, I mean, Kyler Murray is a top 10 talent in the league. He throws a beautiful ball. He can move. He's a little undersized.
Yes, but that's what I was about to get into. But is his size an effect on how they're playing?
Yeah, that's a good point because he's been getting injured. So I understand where you're coming from.
Absolutely, yeah. Or is it just his size? Because I don't know. Because there have been successful short quarterbacks in the NFL. There's Drew Brees.
Yeah, Doug Flutie,
Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Tua. And let me tell you this. I don't think it's all about height. I really think it's about the build. It doesn't.
That's what I was going to say. It's less about height and more about size because Russell Wilson basically throughout his career has almost never gotten hurt because he's built like a rock.
Yeah.
He's short, but he's built like a rock. So.
And I think this just goes to show, obviously we know what happened with Tua last year with all his concussions. So I'm sure there's been a lot of question on what he's going to do in the offseason. And I think we found out. There's been some picture, and it looks like he's been getting built at the gym.
Yeah, I saw those pictures.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think he's getting the right idea and figuring out what works and what doesn't because he has not been having a good season.
I think too. If you're talking about not having a good season, do you mean by his injuries or by his play?
His injuries.
Yeah, because when Tua plays, I said this on
I'm just talking about QBs.
No, yeah, right. That's why I wanted to clarify because on my previous podcast episode, I stated that when Tua is healthy, he wins games.
Yeah, when his head is mangled. And
he gets.
All that
I also said the episode before that he gets thrown around like a rag doll.
Yeah.
So
so hopefully him bulking up will definitely help.
Yeah,
hopefully.
Yeah, it should. No, it should. And if he stays healthy, I have Miami going to the playoffs this year.
They're a strong team, but they're in a hard division.
Yeah,
a very hard division
and a hard conference. But they got the receivers, they got the corners to cover the receivers. So that's how I feel.
It's a very interesting take on what's happening with the AFC and who's winning.
Yeah, that's a whole nother discussion for a whole nother day, my friend.
I saw your podcast.
Yeah. That is a whole getting into the AFC is a 35-minute episode. Watch it. Watch it.
That we don't need to get into right now.
So but talking about injuries and size, it's not always about size getting injured. Some players are just always hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Hence Jimmy Garropolo. Always hurt.
Oh, yeah.
Always hurt.
Speaking of.
Always hurt, Jimmy Garoppolo. But when he plays, he's also someone that's effective. Limited, but he wins. And, he's a top 16 quarterback in the league. I think
why he worked so well with the 49ers is because they had so many backups. So it was okay if Jimmy got hurt because they had Brock Purdy to back him up. They always didn't have to rely on their passing game because they were a great running core.
Yes, because of Kyle Shanahan, Christian McCaffrey, absolutely. And, exactly, Brock Purdy. But, then Brock Purdy goes down, what are you going to do? But that's another thing. apparently the Raiders knew about the foot surgery. Then there's speculation that they didn't know about the foot surgery. So,
Yeah.
now there's speculation today that it's possible Jimmy Garropolo might never play for the Raiders.
That's pretty crazy because I thought it was all signed and he was all ready to go to the Raiders.
Yeah, well,
and
yeah.
I was always thinking about him and Devontae Adams and.
Well, that's the thing. His opening press conference got delayed, and
That's
everyone said it
usually
was
not a good
it was nothing.
sign.
Everyone was like, it was nothing, but it was because he failed the physical. Then he didn't show up to the OTAs, and everyone was like, "Where's Jimmy Garoppolo?" They didn't tell anyone. So
Yeah, just the fact that they're keeping it under the covers like this, it's not a good sign.
For me, it's less about Jimmy Garoppolo now with his foot. I think he'll play this season. I mean, there's speculation that he might not play for the Raiders. I think he's going to play for the Raiders. But what I'm worried about is, game 4 or 5, breaking his leg, or because that seems to happen. It seems like he's just going to get hurt anyway.
I think that Raiders should definitely have some sort of backup plan just in case anything happens.
Well, I don't think they do. I think they're going to tank for Caleb Williams if this goes wrong.
That's an interesting take.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting take. Wow.
But does Josh McDaniels, the head coach, have the leeway for that? Because he's proved that he's just an awful... The Denver stint...
though.
The Denver stint in 2008, and now this stint in his first season with the Raiders have been disasters. He's proven nothing but being a terrible head coach.
So, question. So, you're saying all this, and how do you think Devontae Adams is going to feel like this? Because Devontae Adams switched teams because he wanted to be on a winning team.
Yeah, and
so you think he's okay with just...
He wanted to be with Derek Carr, and they got rid of Derek Carr, so... I mean...
So do you think Devontae Adams is going to stay? You think he's going to be on another team? Maybe on the Jets?
I don't know what's going on with the Raiders.
That'd be crazy.
They're going to be on the Jets. Don't get me started with the Jets. I think they already know about my craziness for the Jets.
Yeah.
I don't want... But it's just doesn't make any sense what the Raiders' direction is right now.
No, it's a big question mark there because last season they weren't terrible,
No, I thought they were going to win more games than they did. They were a little disappointing, but they were competitive. I mean, like I always say, the AFC's tough, but they definitely underperformed. But they have a good offense. Josh Jacobs,
Absolutely,
Devontae Adams.
yeah.
They lost Waller and Carr.
I mean,
now,
they
but
always put up a fight against the Chiefs, and they play them 2 times a year, so that's rough.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they always at least win one of those fights. It's never really a blowout, or it's never really a sweep.
Yeah, so I'm starting to think that they're just gonna tank. But again, where does that leave Devontae Adams? Now that's interesting in itself. He's most likely going to play for the Raiders this season, although unhappy. Where does he go after that? I don't know. Maybe he wants to stay. Maybe Caleb Williams good enough if they get him and they lose and get him. Is Caleb Williams good enough where he's just like, oh yeah, I'm going to stay and wait for this guy to come and
No, yeah, that's a good point.
Aaron Rodgers Jr. No, but so yeah, that's basically all we have today for you guys.
All right, yeah, no, it was some great topics today. We're still developing, obviously, so we'll find out, hopefully by next week, where DeAndre Hopkins is going. I mean,
yeah, right.
It's a big question mark. I mean, if next week nobody still picked him up, I don't know, man.
And maybe in a week or a few months we get some clarity in Jimmy Garoppolo, and eventually we'll get some clarity in Kyler Murray. We don't know when that's going to be, but
maybe the end of the season.
Yeah, maybe. So Dylan, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it, man.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
It was good seeing you guys.
So take care, guys. I'll see you next week.